On this episode of the podcast, me and Dillon give you our early match card predictions for WWE Backlash. Plus, we go over who the best wrestler in the world is. All of that plus more on this episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Izzo, and to your right, that's your other host, Dillon O'Brien. Dillon, say what's up to the people.
What is up to the people?
Dillon, what's been going on? I think before we get into this episode, we have to talk about, we'll talk about MLW. We just went to an MLW event at the legendary 2300 Arena, ECW Arena, and it was awesome. It was both of our first times at the 2300 Arena. And let me tell you this, I think you'll agree, but it was by far the most fun I've had at a wrestling show. What about you?
It's probably, I don't know if it's sad that it's our first time at the 2300 Arena, considering it's like 25 minutes from our house, or like 30 minutes either way, and considering how legendary the arena is. But nonetheless, we finally went, and we will definitely be back in the near future. And moving forward, we're going to make it a regular thing because we definitely had so much fun, just as much, if not more fun than we've ever had at a WWE or AEW event. And a lot of that is a lot of people who have been to indie shows probably know, and I've been to and Mark as well has been to our fair share of indie shows, but I've never really been to a show that was like kind of like, it was a top tier indie company like MLW. So it was kind of like right in the middle, like kind of like a mix of the other indie shows I've been to, kind of like a step up quality wise, and like sports entertainment wise. But oh my gosh, it was a blast. Hardcore matches, geez, it was everything, man. Strap match, the Battle Riot match, 40 men. It was an absolute blast, man. Jacob Fatu is the truth, man. The Samoan werewolf. I've seen my fair share of guys on the indies and stuff that have made their way up to bigger and better things. I've watched Joey Janela in a building with 100 people. I've watched Jimmy Lloyd in a building with 10 people. There's some people I've seen, but seeing Jacob Fatu, I've never been so sure watching a wrestler in a building with probably around 500 people. I've never been so positive that I was watching a wrestler who was eventually going to be wrestling in a stadium with possibly, 70, 80,000 people at WrestleMania. Because as you guys can probably tell by the name, if you're not familiar with him already, he's part of the Anoa'i bloodline. You know what it is. Throw up the ones, the Samoan werewolf. He's really the full package. He's just an absolute beast. He's got the in-ring skills.
The most ready in MLW to just like, you could put him in WWE tomorrow and like he would be good to go.
Yeah. You could put him like on Raw tomorrow. You could just put him in the bloodline tomorrow and he'd be good.
Yeah.
Make a tag team with him and Solo.
Yeah.
Him and Solo were a tag team on the indies. Sefa and Jacob Fatu. But yeah, just like an absolute beast. The whole package. He's got it on the mic, got it in the ring, got it in the body language and the way he acts.
Working the crowd too.
Working the crowd. Just an absolute beast.
Yeah. The same with the rest of the Samoan SWAT team. I mean, that's a great little faction they got there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Them like reviving the Samoan SWAT team and making this like new age version of it was definitely like a great move for them. Got some great merch. Lance on Hawaii as well. Juicy Finau. I mean, what a absolute beast. The guy's close. The guy's like 400 pounds flying off the top rope. He can do a moonsault. He's taking chair shots off the head like literally at every 5 seconds. It feels like the guy's a beast.
Yeah, so definitely go out, support your local indie companies, and if MLW's coming to an arena near you, definitely check out a show because that's the best environment that we've been into for sure. So let's move on to WWE Backlash early match card predictions. We're a few weeks after WrestleMania, and so a few things are like starting to take shape, but there's also a lot that there is to sort of see what's going to happen with it. So we're going to go over the match card we think that could be in store for Backlash. So first off, Cody versus Brock Lesnar. That seems to be the most obvious for me. Dillon, what do you think they need to do with this match? You think Brock's going to win? You think Cody's going to win? Like, how do you think they need to book this match?
Cody's going to win clean.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I'll say this real quick. So I think the more that I'm starting to think about it, the more I'm like understanding why they had Cody lose. There's no denying the fact the moment was there. Like, it's going to be hard to replicate that moment of him winning at WrestleMania. But if you think about it, what has he done in WWE upon returning to make him seem like a serious threat? He beat Seth 3 times and he won the Royal Rumble, which, again, winning the Royal Rumble is a huge feat, but he hasn't had much build to him. So what I'm assuming they're going to do in the coming weeks leading up to SummerSlam is sort of build up Cody's resume to make him seem like even more of a threat to Roman and to the bloodline. And I think him beating Brock clean is really going to help him do that. Now, they need to have him beat some more people because they need to like build him up again, but I think him beating Brock clean is the key word. I don't want no shot to the nuts from Brock to Cody like we had with him against Bobby. Cody's got to beat him clean, and that's just really all there is to it. It's probably going to main event Backlash. And what's your excitement level for this?
You know, as time has gone on, I've gotten more excited for the match just because I mean, like, thinking about it, it's a match at one point we really like this is a match like that was like a fantasy booking type match. It was a match you never thought you were ever going to get between Brock Lesnar and the American Nightmare. But so as time goes on and we get a little closer, I am a little excited for the match. But I'm not like over the moon excited for it. I'm excited to see Cody get a nice win. And I do like, you know, this Brock of the last couple of years. He seems to like really be enjoying himself. And he said that he's having a lot of fun. He said that he's, you know, having the most fun he's had in a while by just like kind of like letting loose. And they talked about, he was like, yeah, I would love to get another title run, but at this point in my career, I don't really need it.
Yeah,
like that's what Brock said. And it's like, yeah, of course, everyone wants a title run. You can't be mad at the guy for wanting it. But the fact that he said, like, I don't need it at this point, like, that's huge right there. It just shows like he's not just doing this because he's trying to come back and get a title run and stuff again. Like, I don't know. He just seems to be having a lot of fun. So that's going to be part of it. And I think, you know, Brock and Cody, Brock is said to have a lot of respect for Cody, as well as Cody's father. So hopefully, Brock is going to be willing to, you know, put himself out there in a big spot for Cody, to go over and make Cody look great.
Yeah, I mean, we can only hope. And so
if Brock does that, then it'll be cool.
Yeah. So
I was going to say this.
Say it
really quick. What are the odds you think they have this like whole Cody Rhodes, like starting from the bottom story build up with like they're refusing to give him a title shot again, and he like has to go win Money in the Bank, and then like does a type of like I'm cashing in at the main event and for the main event of SummerSlam. Here you go.
I think I don't like it, and here's why. I feel like he doesn't really need to win Money in the Bank. Like, even if they're doing like what you said, where he's sort of like at the bottom, I think they could just have him get a few big wins under his belt leading up to it. Like, it could be a thing where he sort of just beats every member of the bloodline on his way to challenging Roman at SummerSlam. Um, and I think that using Money in the Bank, I think what makes Money in the Bank so special is the fact that you can cash it in anywhere, anytime. Like, you can really help a superstar who you would think doesn't really have a chance of beating somebody to just give them a reason to beat them. Um, like someone like an LA Knight or someone along those nature where you don't really see them as a main event superstar quite yet, but it could really help catapult them to that level. And I just don't think Cody needs to win the Money in the Bank. I would like to see that for have someone win that who's like up next, who needs to make that jump to that next level. And I think they could just build Cody up in the weeks leading up to SummerSlam with proper booking. So I wouldn't be mad
agreed.
at it. I just don't think they need to do it. I think it is interesting to think about for sure.
Xavier Woods for Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. So we have a new number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship, Io Sky. She just won the triple threat match on Monday Night Raw, and I think the most interesting thing to take away was Bayley's body language throughout the match. She didn't seem too enthusiastic as she usually is. Do you think that when do you think the turn's going to come? Do you think Bayley's going to turn on the rest of Damage Control? Do you think they could just get drafted to different places because the draft's coming up in a couple weeks? What do you think's going to happen with Damage Control?
It seems like
this match at Backlash.
I hope so. I'm gonna say yeah, they are, and I hope they are because Io deserves it. And it would be a really good match, dude. It's gonna be a really good match. The match is happening regardless, but it deserves the spotlight at Backlash. And yeah, I think there's a really good chance we could see a Bayley turn on Io and Dakota during this match. I don't know like what the odds of them actually doing this, but I like the idea of a turn leading all the way up to a Damage Control triple threat match at SummerSlam, just because it would be insane.
Yeah, that would be sick.
But I'm hoping, but I don't know if I have enough faith in them to like properly book a woman's storyline like that, to be honest.
Yeah,
that doesn't
especially
involve
one
titles.
that does. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But who knows? Triple H might get it done. So,
yeah. Do you think? Obviously, you think Bianca's gonna come out on top here?
Yeah, it feels like it.
I think we could see Bayley costing Io
the
title,
think totally.
Or it's maybe like an accidental cost to sort of play out the Bayley turning on Damage Control, leading it up to SummerSlam. So I think it could be something where it's like an accidental, like Bayley goes to hit Bianca but hits Io and like costs her the title, something like that.
Sorry.
What do you think? Because we were talking about what they're going to do with Latino World Order and Judgment Day. What do you think is going to happen sort of surrounding that storyline? Like, what matches do you think they're going to do with that at Backlash?
Yeah, so it feels like they're going to do Zelina versus Rhea, which makes sense. And I like that, and I'm fine with that. I could also... So this is my thing with it, because I really do feel like they're going to do Rey and Bad Bunny versus Dom and Priest. So that's why I'm like a little more curious on where the rest of the LWO comes in.
Yeah, this one's, for me, it's a little tough because I feel like there's a few different ways they could go also with
like
that.
They could go Rey and Santos versus Dom and they could do Rey, Santos, and they could do Rey, Santos, and Bad Bunny versus Dom, Priest, and Finn.
They could
I feel like they
what
might.
if they do LWO, including Ray, versus Judgment Day, and then they debut a new member?
I could see that, but who would be the new member, you think?
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough for sure. I think they should absolutely do Rhea versus Zelina. I don't know if they're gonna do it, but I think they should. I don't know about
what Baron Corbin and Judgment Day. I'm kind of with it.
It's got potential to be funny.
That's what I'm saying. And there are, or like Baron Corbin, like what if they like, bro, it'd be funny if they make him like he's like trying out. He's like, so he's like not really like in, but they like make him do shit for them.
Yeah.
But like they're like, it's like Braun Strowman's like yelling at him or something. They're like, Baron, honestly, you got him, bro. Like, and he's like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, like kind of like an honorary Uce type vibe, but
yeah,
it's Baron Corbin, but with Judgment Day.
It would be funny. I'm here. I'm here for it, man.
I'm just like, what are they gonna do with? I don't know. I'm trying to think of people, and I was just trying to think of people. I was like, bro, they need, in my opinion, they need someone. I don't know if this is a hot take. It can't be someone that's gonna get a pop. They need to get booze. Yeah. That's why I'm like, if they get Baron Corbin, that shit would be fucking hilarious.
I think it would be funny too, because like he just
and he kind of fits the vibe. He would like not the End of Days. Like
I was gonna say, I feel like he doesn't fit into their group.
I'm saying the name of his move does, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's about it. But I think that could provide like an interesting aspect. Just to have like, because I feel like everyone else fits in well, and then you just have like Baron Corbin, who's like trying so hard to be this thing that he's just so clearly not. I think it could be a lot of fun.
Be hilarious.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think so. I think the most likely scenario is Ray and Bad Bunny versus Dom and Priest. And then I think the second most likely scenario is Ray, Bad Bunny, and Santos versus Dom, Priest, and Finn. And then I think the least likely would be Judgment Day adding a new member and going against Latino World Order, all four of them. I think there's a chance.
Do you think it could be like Latino World Order with Zelina and then Rhea with Judgment Day? What do you think the chances of that are?
I think that there's a chance, but I think it's more likely that we get a title defense.
Yeah. Because that match would be a lot of fun, Rhea versus Zelina.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we already saw it on SmackDown a few weeks ago, but in Puerto Rico,
Zelina's super underrated, bro.
Yeah, she slept on for sure. She's awesome. So yeah, what other I've got a couple other matches I feel like they could do.
Yeah, I've got some written down. I was gonna say KO, Sammy, and Riddle versus the Usos and Solo. It feels like we're gonna get that.
Yeah. It's
what is your take on that?
It's fine.
Yeah, all right. So when it first happened, I kind of understood like everyone being like, bro, please get Matt Riddle out of here. But also like it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, he was injured by Solo Sikoa.
That was my thing. I like completely forgot that Solo like took him out, like in like storyline wise, because I was like, bro, like what is Matt Riddle doing here?
Yeah,
and I just saw people, or like Graves said it, like Solo took out Riddle and sidelined him for whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, I like forgot.
Also,
that was the thing.
It's gonna be a fine match. I'm sure it's gonna be a fun match. Like Riddle's no slouch in the ring. By any means. Say what you want about him. Whatever. I'm not going to say anything. All I'm saying is he's no slouch in the ring. So it's going to be a fun match at least. And also, like, as like, I understood it at first because at first I was like, what is Matt Riddle doing here? Like, I don't want him anywhere near this. But then I was like, bro, it's not like we're in the middle of this storyline. It's not like we're in the climax of this storyline. Like, we're nearing the end.
Yeah.
If they need to grab an extra guy, at least they're making it make sense to the story. You know what I mean? Like, at least they're not just grabbing a random dude who also doesn't like the bloodline.
Yeah. So do you think that I'm going to assume Sammy, KO, and Riddle are going to win, and then Riddle will probably be done with the bloodline. For the most part, he probably still like come to the aid or something, but what do you think they're gonna do with Sammy and KO and the tag titles? Like, do you think they're trying to wait until after the draft to set up new challengers? Do you think they're trying to wait until after SummerSlam? Like, because it feels like they're waiting for something.
After the draft, I would say.
And we'll get into the draft a little bit after this because I think there's some interesting things to talk about with that. But do you think the U.S. or Intercontinental title will be defended on this card?
I think there's a shot, but I don't think it's a huge chance. I think there's a chance that we get Theory versus Dolph Ziggler. Which is, it's crazy that we brought that up last week and then they wrestled a dark match on Raw.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, the next like Monday. So that was interesting.
We're always one step ahead.
Yeah, so I think there's a chance we could get that.
I think we could get Drew versus Gunther, depending on.
Yeah, I was thinking either Drew or Sheamus versus Gunther again. But I don't know. I really don't know.
I can see them not having either title defended on this show.
Yeah, that as well. Part of me feels like Drew and Sheamus might be done with Gunther, to be honest.
I think Sheamus may be done. I think you could get away with Drew versus Gunther.
Yeah, for
sure. And because my thing is like, they just announced that the King and Queen of the Ring, they're renaming it the Night of Champions. So that show in Saudi Arabia is going to be Night of Champions. Yeah. Every title is going to be on the line. So I don't know.
They're still going to do the tournament though.
At Night of Champions?
I think they're going to do... Well, they're still doing the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. The hope, I'm thinking, is that the finals is at Night of Champions.
Yeah, it would make sense. So I don't know how much gold is going to be on the line. That's
also just a better... Well, it feels like... It doesn't feel like Roman's going to defend at Night of Champions. It feels like it's going to be the 1,000-day celebration. Because Night of Champions is on the day Roman hits 1,000 days.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's why that's why they changed it, bro.
Yeah,
that's
why they changed it. Dang, so people are saying crazy.
People are saying it's gonna be like Roman's 1,000-day celebration.
Yeah. Definitely. That's totally what it's gonna be.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. And then who ruined? But no, so that's the other thing. It's like KO and Sammy aren't gonna wrestle on that card.
Yeah.
So, what are the odds they just drop the titles? Because I don't think they're gonna do that. I just think they're probably not gonna have them on that card. Unfortunately. Yeah. But
yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Don't fucking, unless Vince fucking steps in and says we need them on the card and fucking makes them drop them, which would really fucking suck.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would suck big time. So we have new women's tag champions, Liv and Raquel. Yes. We talked about it last week, I believe. And what happened, what we thought was going to happen, happened. Their first title defense, they dropped them.
Yeah.
And we said that a while ago. Like, as soon as they won the tag titles, we're like, they're probably going to lose on their first title defense, which they did. We got Trish sort of turning on Becky there. That's another
And
match.
Trish also filled in for Lita.
Yeah.
Which is just like funny because it's just like stupid. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't like the weird rule that like Adam Pearce can just let random people fill in on tag teams. I'm like, if you're in a faction, that's fine. It's like Freebird type rule. I think that's fine. Like New Day, Judgment Day, like, yeah, you know what I mean? But we're talking.
I think it's different if you're tag champ. I think if you're holding gold, like you should.
And they're not a faction.
Yeah. Like that's what I mean. I thought it was
like the New
crazy.
Day used the Freebird rule and shit, but like that made sense. They were all there all the time.
Yeah.
And they were a team.
That's what I thought when they were just like, because I was trying to catch up after work, and it was just like Lita was attacked.
Well, bro, once they said Trish was filling in, I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna lose.
Yeah, and that's what I was just like, dude. Like, I get now that they did it to have Trish turn on Becky, but B, I think it would have been cooler if Becky was just like, I'm gonna defend both these titles on my own.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to happen.
I think that would have made more sense, not only storyline wise, but for like Becky and her character.
Yeah, it definitely would have made sense for her character.
We're getting Trish and Becky at Backlash.
Yeah, that's my guess. And then possibly, I was thinking even possibly, which at SummerSlam, or maybe it could even be at Night of Champions. Who knows?
I just don't know how this feels like it should be a SummerSlam match. I just don't know how they would hold this feud till SummerSlam.
So it feels like my guess was that they might do that at Backlash, Becky versus Trish, and then at SummerSlam they can either do Lita versus Trish, or they might do Lita versus Trish at Night of Champions, even though it's not a title match, just because it's like two like Hall of Famers, and the Saudi shows always like big names like that. Or I felt like they could also end up going to Becky and Lita versus Trish and Bayley, or versus Trish and Charlotte.
Do you think they could do a triple threat at SummerSlam? Lita, Trish, Becky?
Yeah, I think they could, but I don't think it would make that much sense. I don't think it makes much sense for Lita and Becky to kind of not be on the same page at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
just story-wise, I don't think it makes sense because Trish has now attacked, like Becky, like Trish attacking Becky now shows Trish was the one that attacked Lita.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
or somebody that Trish is working with. So that's why my theory was like it's either going to end up being Lita versus Trish, or Lita and Becky versus Trish and Charlotte, or Trish and Bayley, or Trish and somebody else. Who knows? But those were my top two guesses.
Yeah.
At SummerSlam. But who knows? But all that being said, I do think we're gonna get Becky versus Trish at Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I agree.
Because people like, and they're saying they want big matches for that card. Like,
yeah, and I think this card has potential to be a lot of fun, and I think just being in Puerto Rico, like the atmosphere is going to be unreal. Do you think they're going to do Ronda and Shayna versus Liv and Raquel at Backlash, or do you think that's something they could do at Night of Champions?
I think they're more likely to do it on Night of Champions, but I'd rather have Liv and Raquel get on this card, to be honest. But I don't want them to just drop the titles.
Well,
but they might. So
my thing with it is like, I don't want them to just drop the titles, but I also just want them to put it on Ronda and Shayna and have a lengthy title run.
Yeah, that's also the case. It's like I don't want them to just drop the titles, but also I don't necessarily love Liv and Raquel as champions anyway. So
yeah, and yeah,
I just want somebody to hold the titles. That's why I just want a lengthy title reign in general. But
that
Ronda and Shayna are the best people to do it.
Yeah, and I think they understand that, like WWE understands that they could really help those tag titles, whether people like to admit it or not. They're the best case for the women's tag titles. Do you have any other matches that you think could be added that we didn't discuss? Because I feel like those are all the potential matches. Do you think Seth's going to be on this card? Or Logan?
There could be a chance. That Logan is on. It would be. I want Seth to be on the card, obviously, but they could just give him one off.
Yeah, because I don't know what he would do.
Yeah, like I don't think it would. I think they could give him like a pay-per-view off, like as a courtesy, not as a dig. As long as he doesn't see it as that, as long as he sees it as like I'm okay with taking this one off just to get some rest, rather than him seeing it as like no, I want to be on the card. I'm one of the biggest stars. So I think honestly, I bet you it's up to Seth. I bet you they were like, you could take like this one off if you want.
Well, yeah. So my thing is like,
I bet you he's got to be on the card maybe in some sort of way, though, right?
I just don't know what they're gonna do because, like, they cut his segment, 2 Mondays ago. Yeah, and like, remember it was just the crowd was singing and he just came in the ring. He was supposed to have a promo and then they cut it on that awful Monday Night Raw. So yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with.
What did he do this past Monday?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
I
feel like he had a backstage segment.
I don't think I think I missed this past.
Yeah.
Monday
anyway,
so
yeah,
I'll tell you who needs to be on the card. I'll tell you who needs to be on the Backlash card. LA Knight, Bray Wyatt, Bobby Lashley. Like those guys, I would say at least 2 out of those 3 guys needs to be on the card.
Like, what are we? Be nice.
Or like, I'm tired of watching LA Knight fight Xavier Woods every week and making fun of him for gaming. Like, what are we doing? So,
agreed.
Let's get into the draft, because they announced the draft on Friday Night SmackDown is going to take place in a few weeks, and the 2 things that I feel like they made clear was every active or every wrestler is going to get drafted, and they said it's going to change the game. So do you have any insight or any ideas that you think that's going to happen with the draft? Because I feel like they're trying to make it like this big thing again. Or what are your thoughts? Like your initial thoughts on them like doing the draft? Because I think I
love it if they just
the idea of the draft. But they need to stick to having stars on the shows. That's
exactly. It's just like if they're gonna do the draft, stick to the brand split.
Yeah.
That's it. And I understand but they also got themselves into this position by combining the titles. But hopefully they're on the way out of that in the next year with like Roman's reign ending. So hopefully it won't really matter. Because you can just have Cody and Roman be like the main feud for the world title over the next year regardless. And even if that just is like Roman stays on SmackDown, Cody stays on Raw, that's fine. That can just be your main feud regardless of what happens in the draft. You just keep those guys where they are. I think that's fine. But then once Cody gets the title or once they split the titles or whatever, then that's when everything has to be like set. And also everything else needs to be set once they do the draft. Yeah, like we were saying, they just got to get the brand split back. If they're going to draft, there's no point in doing it if everybody's just going to show up on every show anyway.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And the brand split gives you a better opportunity to utilize your roster.
Yeah. And it makes it easier on the wrestlers to just like stick to one show. And that was the thing. Like the draft is fine. Like, I don't mind the idea of the draft, but if you're gonna have people like switch shows all the time and show up on one, like it doesn't make sense. And I think they could utilize like the trading aspect of it with like because they did that before with like one superstar was like traded from Raw to SmackDown or whatever. I don't think they need to do like a Raw versus SmackDown type of thing. Like, I
No.
think they could do it just like you have people who are on SmackDown, you have people who are on Raw, and just like leave it like that. I think there's a chance that they could debut titles at the draft.
Ooh, that's a very good idea.
Draft Roman to Raw or SmackDown, make a title for him, have a vacant title for the other show, and then you could even combine the tag titles, make new tag titles, and that way, like, because that's what would make sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Do you think there's going to be any big like surprises with it? Like, do you think we could see some UFC guys get drafted to WWE? Do you think like they could draft like The Rock or John Cena or something like that? Like something that's going to change the game?
I think there's a chance that like a guy like Cena or The Rock could get drafted. I think there's a slim chance. I also think there's a slim chance like a UFC guy could get drafted. I think there's a decent chance Logan Paul might get drafted to a certain brand. But that'll also be weird because like he's definitely not a full-timer. So it's like might be weird for him to get drafted to a brand. It might actually hurt them more than it helps them by limiting him to a brand.
Well, Triple H did say he's going to start to wrestle a little more than he did before. I think he's definitely going to get drafted.
Cool. I hope. Yeah, no. I think that would be great. Who else?
Do you think what NXT you think Braun Breaker is going to get drafted?
Yeah, it feels that way. Braun Breaker.
Waller.
Yeah, probably Grayson Waller as well as Roxanne Perez. I think there's a decent chance Pretty Deadly gets called up. Maybe Gigi Dolan. I know because they're gonna finish out the Jossie Jane thing. Zoe Starks. Probably a decent chance. My guess would be like the top two guys in NXT that'll probably get called up are Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller. And then for the women, and probably Roxanne Perez and Zoe Starks. And then I feel like Pretty Deadly is going to get called up as well. I think there's also a chance Ilya Dragunov is in the draft.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Draft him wherever Gunther goes. Put him on that show and let them battle for a year. I think they could draft people that are injured, like Ciampa or Randy.
Oh, yeah, Ciampa would be awesome.
You know who, like, I kind of forgot about in NXT is Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Roderick Strong? Draft him to the roster, dude. He's a beast.
Agreed.
Like the Messiah of the backbreaker. My God. So I think the draft provides a lot of really interesting stuff if it's done right. Like I could see Vince McMahon getting his greasy little fingers all on it and then just messing everything up and it not making a lot of sense. So let's transition to the best wrestlers in the world. Now, I want to make this very clear. This is the all-around wrestlers, right? So we're taking everything into account, in ring, on the mic, storylines, everything. All-around wrestlers in the world.
Presence, crowd work, the look.
Everything.
The feel that you get from when they wrestle. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
Every single piece that goes into making a great wrestler.
Dillon, kick us off with your number 5.
Okay, all right. Should we do some honorable mentions first?
Yeah, you can do some honorable mentions.
Okay, so I've got 3 honorable mentions, and I don't know. They might ruffle some feathers that they're not in the top 5. Who knows? But these are 3 of my honorable mentions. I limited myself to 3. I could go on and honestly probably make 20. Like so many wrestlers are so great. But these are my 3 honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, the AEW World Champion MJF is my first honorable mention. Just because he's very amazing on the mic, very good in the ring as well. He's just a great all-around wrestler, very young. And I think eventually he could easily get to that number 1 spot. I just don't think he's accomplished enough yet compared to some other guys.
I think I would say he's underrated in ring.
Underrated in ring for sure.
Yeah,
I can agree.
Yes.
My other honorable mention, this one killed me to do because he is probably my favorite wrestler of all time, but that's Bryan Danielson. And the only thing is, a few years ago, easily would have been on this list. He's just kind of getting older there in his career. And he hasn't lost a step. Trust me. There's just some other guys that are just fresh in their prime that are just probably just a little more like fresh to the face. You know what I mean? Fresh to the eyes that I'm going to put a little bit above, a little more younger, athletic type. You know what I mean? And my other honorable mention was the 3-time AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley. So it really hurt me to not put him on my top 5 list. But I put a bit of a wild card.
I'm interested to see this 5 spot now.
I put a bit of a wild card on my 5 spot. But I think I'm going to justify it. So yeah, those are 3 of my honorable mentions. You got any honorable mentions, Mark?
I had 2, and it was MJF and Danielson.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Those guys, I think I'll get into a little more, but those are both guys that I feel like you could put at the 5 spot.
Easily.
Sure.
They could easily be in your top 5. No arguments from me.
Yeah. Let's hear your hot take, number 5.
Listen, I don't think it's that hot. All right.
Okay.
Number 5, we have the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the 21st century, the Ring General, Gunther. Okay.
All right.
So my reason that put Gunther over the top and nailed him at this 5 spot, and I was tossing and turning. I was going to put Gunther as an honorable mention. Gunther, debatably, will have the match of the year 2 years in a row. For 2022 against Sheamus at Clash of the Castle and the triple threat at WrestleMania. He was the winner of probably the match of the year 2 years in a row. Arguably, that WrestleMania match is going to be a finalist. Regardless on if it wins or not.
It's going to be hard to top that. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if something tops that.
That was the thing. I really thought about it. I was like, he's single-handedly redefining the prestige behind the Intercontinental title. And he debatably had match of the year for the last 2 years in a row, had the best match of the year, and was the winner of both of them. So that's why I ended up putting the Ring General Gunther at 5. And also, I could be a little biased, but I don't know, like, I could be a little biased because of how much I really do enjoy Gunther. And I don't know if this really should be counted toward like whether he gets further up on the list or not, but the physical improvement like from his body, dude, is like insane. Like he is now in the best shape we've ever seen him in. Like he's jacked now, dude, and it's like like it's insane. He's so that's why I got Gunther at 5. So I don't think anyone can hate on that one too much.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Gunther, man. I loved him as Walter. I'm happy he had a really good transition to the main roster in WWE. Easily top 10 wrestler, all-around wrestler in the world for me. So for my number 5, I've got Jon Moxley. As much as I wanted to put
Moxley is probably my 6.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to put Gunther in this top 5 just because I love him so much, I just couldn't have a top 5 without Moxley. And I mean, what can you say about the guy? 3-time AEW World Champion. He's been carrying AEW since he signed. Whatever feud he goes into is a must-watch feud. This recent feud with the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club is super intriguing. I think you could swap Moxley and Danielson at the 5 spot for sure. I think those guys are interchangeable because I was trying to decide between Moxley and Danielson, but I think just Moxley having the world title runs gives him the edge over Danielson slightly. But I wouldn't be mad if you have Danielson at your number 5 because he very easily is a top 5 all around wrestler in the world. But yeah, I got John Moxley at number 5.
Well, all right. Yeah, no arguments from here. I want to hear now. You go with your 4 before.
All right, so 1 through 4, I'm going to assume we have the same 4 people, but the order was a little tricky.
It was hard for me.
Yeah. So number 4, I put Cody.
Okay.
Cody, what can I say about the guy? Biggest babyface in the world. Not enough people talk about how hard AEW fumbled him because he went from getting booed out of the stadium in AEW to becoming the biggest babyface in the world in WWE in like a year. And he's good in the ring. He may not be the best in-ring wrestler, but he'll surprise you every now and again. And then obviously he may be the best on the mic in all of professional wrestling. He's the best storyteller. So I think once he wins the title, he will probably move up a few spots. But I think until then, going based off of everything that's happened over the past year or so, the past few years, Cody's coming in at number 4 for me.
Okay, so we're gonna differ here at number 4 as well. And like I said, no arguments. Honestly, I probably couldn't argue with like any place you put anybody this from this point on, because these top 4 guys are definitely the top 4, like the current 4 top 4 guys in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, we haven't even said all the names, but I would say we definitely know who the 4 are.
I would put them in a tier by themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And so my number 4 spot is Kenny Omega. And it was tough to put Kenny here at 4. But I just had to take into consideration bro, it's tough. Like I said, like I could easily put Kenny at 1 and also justify it. Like it's tough.
Yeah.
The main reason, and I hate to fucking have this be the reason.
Oh man.
But he has a little smudge on his legacy right now because of Brawl Out. I hate for that to be the reason.
Okay.
But he missed some time because of it, and he has a bit of a smudge on his legacy because of that. And I'm not like holding that against him. Listen, we don't know. I guess I kind of am holding it against him. But I'm only doing it to justify where I'm putting him on this list, basically, because you really could put anybody anywhere. The One-Winged Angel is the best finisher in wrestling. Like, it's the best move in wrestling. Yeah. Saying that, like, talking about the One-Winged Angel makes me want to change it and put Cody on top because of how awesome the move is. I mean, not Cody, Kenny. But yeah, so it was hard for me to put Kenny there. Easily you could put him at 1, but I'm gonna have to go to put Kenny Omega at 4. It was really rough for me. In ring, he might be the best. Probably. He's easily top 2 in ring, in my opinion. So like I said, he's no arguments for me if you put Kenny Omega at 1. But for me, he's currently at 4. And like I said, I'll justify some of the reasons why I put some of the other guys ahead of him.
All right. So for my number 3, this one, is, again, very tough. It pains me to put this person at number 3 because, again, you could argue he's number 1, but I got to stick to what I've been saying for months about who's number 1. And so coming in at number 3 for me is the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns.
Oof.
Again, you could very easily put him at number 1 and you will not receive an argument from me. But my only thing is he may be the best. He probably has the best presence. You could argue he's the best on the mic. He carries himself the best. He almost is a 10 out of 10 in every category. I think the place where you could get him for is in ring. Now, I'm not saying he's bad in ring. He is not bad by any means of the word in ring. But I just think when we look at these other guys in this list, I think that you will sort of see
Roman is a little more one-dimensional, I would say.
Yeah, and I think he knows what he can and can't do, and
not
I think
in a bad way.
I think it fits his style, his character really good too. So it hurts me to do it. The guy's gonna hit 1,000 days as champ. He's been on top of WWE for 3 years. Hasn't been pinned since 2019. But Roman Reigns is my number 3.
Did I say my 3 yet?
You did not.
Okay. So my number 3 is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So I got Cody at 3. And I did for a while I would have had Kenny above Cody. But the reason I put Cody above Kenny is because just like this run since winning the Royal Rumble, week after week, the promos he's cut, what a match. Like, even though he did lose, what an incredible WrestleMania main event. And like, also, dude, can we talk about the fact, bro, Cody played us so hard. The fact that that man knew he was losing, bro, like, is like, bro, he went in, he's kissing his daughter and shit, like, fucking the fucking Dusty shit. You're doing the Dusty shit and you know you're about to lose 2 minutes later. Like, insane, bro. That must have been so heartbreaking for him. He's like literally hitting the bionic elbow knowing he's about to lose the main event of God, what a heartbreaker. But yeah, I don't really know if there needs to be much more explanation. He's the biggest babyface in the world, easily. So yeah, Cody Rhodes is at my number 3. And this past, like, even though he did lose in the main event, this past like run up to the main event of WrestleMania, and each and every promo he's cut, it's like we're waiting for him to have a promo where I just go, that was okay. Like, that was good, but it wasn't awesome. Everyone is awesome. Every single one.
Yeah, his standard for promos is so much higher than everybody else's. It's insane. Unreal.
It's fucking insane, bro. Like, bro, his promo on Monday had me like, I was literally throwing my hands in the. I was like, bro, this guy is fucking crazy. Like the derelict wolf that came back to be the leader of the pack. Like, oh my God, he was like, from dashing to Stardust to the main event. Oh my God, and then he was like, earn it. I am it. Like, oh my, bro, like, what a line. And like, woo, Cody. Yeah. It even pains me to put Cody at 3. Like I said, these top 4 guys, you could easily make the case to rearrange them in any top 4 order, and I would probably not really argue back at you. So
yeah,
I got Cody at my 3.
Nice. So for my number 2, I've said it for a while. It's Kenny Omega, the god of professional wrestling. When you look at everything, every box, this guy just ticks off, man. And I think he's one of the 2 people that are really bringing back some honor and some prestige and some uniqueness to their entrance and to their wrestling gear for pay-per-views. Like Kenny Omega is a guy that's going to put thought and time in to making his pay-per-views, his entrances really feel special. And I think the guy slept on the mic. In the ring, he's easily a top 2 wrestler in the world. And I think he's really, really hitting his stride now that everything with the brawl out is done. And his promo on Dynamite was unreal. And I just think, pound for pound, when you look at everything, this guy is a top 2 wrestler in the world all around.
Easily. Zero arguments for me here. I mean, Kenny Omega is amazing. All around, you could easily put him at 1. In ring, you could easily put him at 1. And there would be zero arguments from me. Like I said, it was a pain to put him at 4. Like, I could have put him at 1 and also justify and like also been okay with it. It's crazy. It was a pain for me to put him at 4. I more just had, it's like, I couldn't find reasons to not put Kenny Omega at 1. It was like more, I could just find a couple of reasons to put other people ahead of him is more of what it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's all. That's really it. And also, I could easily look at those and overlook them and just say, but Kenny's just Kenny. And he's just him. He's just the man. Yeah, Kenny Omega is awesome. And easily, you got him at number 2. For me, number 2, and believe it or not, I had him at 3 at the beginning of the list. But that is Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief. Arguably the greatest champion in WWE history. The undisputed WWE Universal Champion, head of the table, leader of the bloodline. I mean, Roman Reigns has the best final boss feel out of Roman Reigns, hands down, by far, is the best final boss type character in professional wrestling history.
Yeah.
By far, in my opinion. By far. Like, it's like not even close, in my opinion. Like,
I agree completely.
It's like, when you beat Roman Reigns, you become the guy. Yeah. That is where Roman is at now. Like, the next person to pin Roman Reigns, who it's probably going to be Cody.
It will be Cody.
Like, yeah. Like, it's going to, like, that moment alone. Like, let's talk about it. Like, even though it's probably not going to be at WrestleMania at this point, and it still might be at WrestleMania. Who knows? We might be there in person for it. Who knows? All I'm saying. It's going to be such a huge like, just the man getting pinned is going to be such a huge moment. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Just Roman, I don't think I've ever seen anybody able to control a crowd without saying just by like looking around, like without saying a word. Nobody can do it like him. It's insane.
Yeah.
The way that he can control a crowd just by going.
Yeah.
And then he'll like look around a little, stretch, rub his chin.
I'll say this too. Roman knows how to, he hits the cue every single time.
Bro.
Like, when he comes out.
Best at finding the hard cam out of anybody.
Probably
ever.
Best. He's the best just like, in the ring, just finding a camera and just talking his shit.
Yeah. I mean, and that's WWE right there. If that doesn't show you a WWE born and bred, and if you're like able to find the hard cam like that.
He hits it every single time when he comes out. He'll stand there. He knows exactly when to slowly raise his belt up to hit the cue on his music. And the little shit I love when he's got his titles and they're announcing it and he just like waves them back.
Oh yeah.
The titles. That's so sick. And I love when he's about to cut a promo and then he'll just go and then ask Paul Heyman for the mic. I mean,
Paul Heyman's like, all right, bro. And I love when right before Paul Heyman throws up the ones in the bloodline when he's looking at Roman going,
yeah.
he's like looking at him all weird.
Yeah, Heyman's great with his looks.
Bro, honestly, Paul Heyman and Roman's relationship in general too is like, oh god, how awesome. Like, never thought we'd be able to get a manager wrestler relationship that compared to the relationship of Brock and Heyman. And you can argue that Heyman and Roman's is better. Just like on screen wise.
And it says a lot about Paul Heyman, dude. It says a lot about Heyman.
Yeah.
He's the goat.
Easily.
I don't give a shit.
So yeah, I mean, the tribal chief, what can you say? And it looks like we both have the same number 1.
Yeah, and all I have to say is, hey, Mr. DJ, play my song.
Burn it down. Oh,
I mean,
the guy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Seth freaking Rollins, man.
Yeah, I mean,
hard to argue.
I mean,
probably the most over guy on the planet. Like, Cody Rhodes is the biggest babyface for sure. But like, Rollins is the most over wrestler.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
it's hard to argue.
Yeah, like, it's just, he's got it on the mic in every single way. In the ring in every single way, you could easily say he's number 1. It's just like the way he can walk, control a crowd. It's hard to argue with Seth Rollins, dude. He's just,
I mean,
he's, in my opinion, he is like that top guy, man. Like, oof, it's the best.
He's the complete package for sure.
For sure.
And it's crazy because like every time I watch him come out, cut a promo, I'm just like, Seth Rollins is the fucking man, dude. Like,
dude, he's like a booker's dream. He's just like, if you made a wrestler in a fucking lab, it's Seth Rollins.
I mean, and I feel
with
like
Kenny, dude. Like, honestly, like
that was my thing.
Yeah,
I feel like there's like very similar. Like Kenny's like AEW Seth Rollins, but
yeah,
my thing with Seth is like I feel like right now, not enough people are talking about like how much he's able to change his gimmicks throughout the years.
Bro, it's insane. Like, crazy. The Monday Night Messiah, the Architect. Now, of course, whatever he is, Seth freaking Rollins.
The Drip God.
Yeah, the Drip God. And then now just like Seth freaking Rollins in general. The Visionary.
Yeah. I mean,
bro, like, dude, just him walking out when, like, bro, it's like fucking chills thinking about it. When he walked out and was face to face with Logan Paul the first time, and he was like, I don't believe we've met. He was like, allow me to introduce myself. I am the Visionary. I am the Revolutionary. I am Seth. And then the whole crowd was like, freaking Rollins. Like, yeah, oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
What, just knows. Dude, the guy could literally go out there and what I mean by like he's so over too is like his mic skills are top tier. Easily top tier. Seth Rollins could go out there and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and the crowd would go fucking insane. That's how over the guy is. Like,
I don't know if I don't know if people are willing to admit that he's like one of the best on the mic, like currently, because I feel like people will put like Roman or MJF or Cody, but like Seth's up there.
Easily.
He's
bro.
Up there.
Easily. He's arguably one of the best. He's arguably the best.
He could walk into a grocery store and then he would just have everyone cheering him and singing his song
bro.
in like 2 minutes.
Like just the way he like, easily the most over guy. Like anybody that gets into wrestling now too, it's like Seth Rollins is the guy that stands out in a good way. So, like Seth Rollins, like it's not a bad thing about anybody else on the list, but just like more than anybody else, if I was watching wrestling for the first time, I feel like Seth Rollins would be the first guy that I'm like, he's one of my favorites. I like him. Like, if I was like just being introduced to all these characters for the first time, just because he has that way of just like grabbing you and making you laugh and like, but not, like making you laugh, not in like a goofy way where you're like, what is this guy talking about? Where in like, bro, this guy's fucking awesome. Like, it's just, it's great.
Yeah. I feel like for us, he's like everyone's older brother, how they viewed Triple H, how he was just a fucking man back in the day. Like, that's how we're view Seth Rollins right now in like a different way. But like, it's just like Seth Rollins, he's the man, dude. Like, he's the best. He's the best all around wrestler in the world. You can argue with your mom about it, but I think
both the Burning Hammer boys agree. We did not talk about our list before this. This was the first time we revealed our list to each other.
That's right.
And we both agreed Seth Rollins is your number one guy.
And I'll tell you what absolutely needs to happen. Come the draft, I think they need to unify the titles, make a new title, have a vacant title wherever Seth goes, and Seth needs to be the first person to hold the vacant title.
Seth needs to stay on Raw, bro.
That's fine.
I think he needs to stay on Raw. In my opinion, at this point, I'm like,
he is essentially Raw.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point, I'm like, SmackDown is Roman's show and Raw is Seth's show. Like, I almost feel like both of them should just always be on that brand. Yeah. And like, if that's the one time they have to, like, if the time they have to like have guys go to other brands is so they can have a Roman versus Seth feud, everyone will be willing to make the exception to have the Roman versus Seth feud.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the draft. We've got Backlash coming up. We got Night of Champions coming up. We're leading to SummerSlam. So there's a lot of interesting things coming within the next few weeks and the next few months. So you got to make sure to follow the Burning Hammer podcast on our social media. That's the best way to stay up to date with when we release new episodes of the podcast. Plus, you can get our immediate and initial reactions to things happening in the world of professional wrestling. You can follow us on Twitter at The Burnt Hammer. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube at The Burning Hammer. And you can follow us on Twitch at The Burning Hammer Podcast. We are available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, make sure to follow and subscribe and leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'm Mark Izzo. He's Dillon O'Brien. And this has been another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. We'll catch you next week.